Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this week's edition of the Let's Talk Thursdays podcast. My name is BrendenPlayz, and yes, we still do this show. Unfortunately, I did miss last week's show again. It's been a bit of a bad schedule, a bit of a bad run for me the last couple of months of the show. Really do apologize for that. Just that crazy period of time of the year where exams are coming, assignments are coming, and just things are kind of getting in the way. Last week, I actually had a week off. Just took a week away from YouTube. My best friend came and visited me for a week, so I just hung out with him, and I decided, okay, I'll just take a step back, and I think I uploaded once or twice. That was about it. So that was a decision I made. I would have liked to have done a podcast last week. There's a few things I want to really chat about, but we just didn't get around to doing it. We actually went to a Stone Sour concert rather. And that was amazing. So we had a lot of time there, actually. A lot of great time there. We had a few photos and videos we put up on my Twitter as well about that. And that was amazing. We actually met the band as well, and that was really cool. You guys may know Corey Taylor from Slipknot. So he's in Stone Sour. That's his band. So I got a chance to meet him, shake his hand, and get a photo with him. It was really cool. So that was a really cool experience that I had. And that was... last Wednesday, yeah. So the next day, I was just, knackered, man. It was a big night. So, yeah, I've been kind of busy a little bit and been working on an assignment all day today. I didn't think I'd get time to do the podcast today, but I'm going to take a break from that and chat about some wrestling for the next hour or so, just to kind of get my mind off things and do that. So... the thing we know today is WWE 2k18's roster is completely revealed. I think, there's potential that they might put out some more names in a different manner. They did say the IGN reveal is completed. I would dare say that is done and dusted. That is the actual reveal, and there's probably no one else left. The notable missions obviously being the Hardy Boys and Elias Sampson, Andrade St. Almes, Aleister Black. A few names that I personally... I'm a little, disappointed that didn't make the cut, and a few cruiserweights as well, to be fair. And I put a video up on my channel yesterday talking about DLC in the game and the potential names I would like to see as DLC characters. And so check that out as well if you want to hear my thoughts about that. But overall, the roster is really strong. Overall, the roster is, I don't know if it's the best roster ever. It's certainly, I think, the biggest roster ever. And there's a lot of great names. Who are legends in the game, and majority of the talent in the WWE and even NXT are covered. A lot of the main talent in NXT are covered anyways, which is terrific to see. That's something you guys know that I've been trying to encourage them to do for the last few years, is to get anyone who's contracted in the WWE in the game, anyone who's been featured on TV or been in some kind of prominent role on WWE or even NXT last year, who is under contract, get him in the game, because the more characters we've got to play as, the better. The less we have to try and create, and we all know the core versions are never as good as the actual versions. So it makes things a lot easier for the WWE community to really get the full authentic version of the game that they're looking for. So kudos to WWE. They did their best this year. 2K did their absolute best this year to get as many people as they could in the game, which I'm very happy about, because it makes life a lot easier for me, someone who makes Universe Mode, where I have so many characters that I can cover and use and utilize in my Universe Mode series. Normally, we have to cancel NXT for a few months whilst we wait for people to create the NXT created wrestlers. This year, I don't think we really have to, because we've got a lot of the NXT names on the roster already, which is really great to see. It means I don't have to, wait around. I can actually continue my NXT and utilize all those names. That's the thing, that's the real bummer, is that we have so many different people that are in NXT in Universe Mode that don't get used for such a long period of time. Well, hopefully this year we won't have to really worry about that. There's a few names, obviously, that I would have liked to have been able to play around with and have at my disposal. Aleister Black, Andrade St. Almes, and of course Drew McIntyre, some of the names that I'm really keen on using more often. Elias Sampson as well, someone I really wanted to start featuring a lot more on my show. I haven't really featured him too much, but I wanted to really start doing something with him. Really disappointed that I couldn't do that, and that's kind of a bit of a bummer. And obviously the Hardy Boys as well, that's a big loss. I'm really shocked the Hardys didn't make the cut, considering they made their return at WrestleMania. You would think anyone at WrestleMania would have made the cut for sure, but no, not to be. And it's disappointing because, I think they are a real marquee draw to people, getting this game, wanting to play it. So it does make sense business-wise for them to take them out of the game, put them in the season pass, and make them a DLC character. Whether that be the first DLC pack, I would like to think yes, it is. I would hate for them to be in the last DLC pack. It's quite possible that they could be broken, or who knows, by the time we even get them. So, yeah, it's a bit of a crappy thing, but it is what it is. I get it. You got to pick some names that are going to sell a DLC pack. For me personally, I think just having the UK guys as a pack, maybe even the cruiserweights. I know that people don't really care much about cruiserweights, but for me, if I'm a WWE fan, I want to have the cruiserweights and utilize them. But a cruiserweight or / NXT pack, something like that, they would have been okay. But maybe they're looking for a Legends pack and Hardy Boys. Maybe we get a old school Hardys and current day Hardys. That would be cool. I'd be appreciative of that if they just had a Hardy Boys pack and maybe they put the Dudley Boys back in, or do something with Edge and Christian or something like that. Where they kind of incorporate that. I don't know. That could be okay. That could work. But certainly, I just want to see the Hardy Boys in some capacity. I think most of us really do. But I have no doubts that everyone will be trying to create a decent version of the Hardy Boys straight up. And hopefully that happens in the opening few days of the game coming out, which is not too far away. I think it's less than 40 days now until the game comes out. I'm a little unsure of where I'm going to go with my universe mode. We got No Mercy coming up next, which will be, I don't know, in game time, 2 weeks away. In reality, maybe 3-4 weeks. I don't know. And that's why I'm kind of thinking, well, do I leave it at No Mercy? Do I just have No Mercy as that's it, the final show? Because just, I think, a couple of days before 2k18 comes out, I actually finish university for forever. So I'm currently in my final semester. And just a couple of days before 2k18 comes out, will be my final exam. So it's actually really great timing, to be honest with you. So I'm kind of thinking, well, do I stop at No Mercy and kind of continue from there and have a bit of a break from universe mode and kind of really kickstart fresh and raring to go when the new game comes out? It's a possibility. I think that might be the right call. But to be honest, it doesn't really work on what the storylines and what I originally planned. I actually originally planned to stop the pay-per-view before Survivor Series, so I don't know what that pay-per-view will be at this point. I guess for the sake of the discussion, we'll say it's Hell in a Cell. It's not going to be Hell in a Cell, but we'll say it's Hell in a Cell. So I was going to stop at Hell in a Cell and have the Raw after Hell in a Cell as the first episode of 2K18. I know it's not an ideal spot, but the reason being is because Survivor Series obviously is a pay-per-view that is one of my favorites. The 4-on-4, 5-on-5 concept is one of my favorite match types of all time. You guys know that. So I really wanted to utilize the new 4-on-4 system, so I made it a bit of a point to say, okay, we'll stop just before Survivor Series. Originally my plan was to get to Survivor Series and then end it, start fresh after Survivor Series. That was my original plan, and maybe do a bit of a roster shake-up at the same time and kind of switch things up, add some, people who are new to the game from NXT or whatever, maybe spice them up and put them in the game, and put them on the Smackdown Raw, something like that, spice things up. We still definitely could do that, but it won't happen this soon. It's a little disappointing. The other idea is just to bring Survivor Series forward a month, and just, normally Survivor Series is November. Just do it in October instead, and do it when Hell in a Cell would have been, which is not a bad idea, honestly. And you might be saying, well, it doesn't really, you shouldn't really do that. But for me, I would like to kick things off with a big pay-per-view, and that would be really big. But it would have to kind of fast track all my plans, my booking plans that I had made. I'd have to fast track an extra month. So that's the other kind of, it's a double-edged sword, I suppose you could say. But you have to kind of think about what I want to do and where I want to go with my universe mode. Quite possibly this may be my final year of universe mode. I don't know, but I want to try and have the best one I possibly can, and with a few extra features, and certainly the video editor being upgraded and enhanced. It's going to offer a lot more tools for me to use and a better roster and a lot of new names and some legends I might even be able to incorporate. It's going to really provide me with a lot more tools at my disposal to really make the best possible universe mode that I can. So I'm really excited for it, and I can't wait. It's less than 40 days, as I said, till the new game comes out. So certainly a lot to think about, certainly a lot to do. And for now, I guess the focus is on getting No Mercy done, which I think is going to be a great show. We've got a couple of big matches I'm about to announce in the next few days for that. So that's huge. And I know I was meant to do an episode of Raw on Universe Mode, but I've had to kind of delay it the last few days because I've had so many technical issues with it as well. I was trying to have it out on Wednesday, but I had so many technical issues I just couldn't get it done. I've now resolved those issues, but I've been cramped down my assignment. I haven't had a chance to kind of get it done. So, as I said, it's just a bad period of time for me. I've got an assignment due tomorrow, which I've only done half of it, so I'll be busy tomorrow doing that. And then I think another assignment due next week, and then one more after that. Then I've done all my assignments, so that's, I guess, a bit of positive light for me. So if I can get those done, then I should be okay. Next weekend as well, WWE is actually coming back to Australia. So the first time I'll be able to see the main roster in 2 years, which is going to be really exciting as well. I will be definitely attending the event, and I have to kind of give a shout out to WWE Games, 2K Games, for hooking me up with some tickets. I haven't got them yet, but they have reached out to me and offered me a chance to go, and I will definitely take them up on that. I really wanted to go last year, but they didn't come to my city, so I was really disappointed by that, and I wasn't going to really take the 3-hour flight to go and see them. Which is kind of ironic because I've driven 5 hours to go and do it. I've driven 5 hours to come see a WWE live event a couple times, and I have no problems doing that. But I didn't really want to go to Sydney, which for me at this point is like a big city to me. Like, I know some of you guys were like, "Oh, Sydney's small. It's like 4 million people there." To me, Sydney is a bit of a step up and kind of a bit nerve-wracking, so I'm not really willing to go to Sydney at this point. I need to kind of grow a set if I want to go to Sydney and make the trip there. I haven't actually gone to Sydney on my own before. So, yeah, I wasn't going to do that, but they're coming back to my city this year. I'm really excited, and hopefully it's a good show. It's only the Raw brand coming, which I think kind of sucks. I would have liked to see a combined event. But I get it, scheduling and things like that, it is what it is, and that's fair enough. But I think Roman Reigns and Braun Strowman might be having a match. I think they announced that the Hardy Boys are coming too. I'm not 100% sure if they're coming to the show that I'm attending. I think they are, fingers crossed that they are, but hopefully they do. So, yeah, it's going to be a pretty good show. Last time they came, I think it was John Cena versus Ryback in a tables match in the main event. I believe that was what it was. So that's a bit of a different contrast, I suppose. What was that? 2015. Does that sound right? Or is that 2013? I don't know. I think I've seen them twice in the last few years. So I don't know. I can't remember which one it was. I feel like it was right though. 2015. I feel like that's what it was. But yeah. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a really fun show, and they are really kind of they really don't let you record anything in the shows. The security there really kind of harping down on that and really get up you if you try and record anything. I know people do it, but it seems as though whenever I try and do it, the security guards tap me on the shoulder, getting angry at me and saying, "Oh, you can't record, otherwise we'll throw you out." So I don't think I'll be able to get much footage and, really do much. But I might make a video chatting about it, because I always find it interesting, if you don't get to see live events very often, to kind of hear about what happens, what can you really expect from a live event, especially when they come to Australia. I really think they should do a network special here in Australia. I think that would be a really nice thing for the fans. I know they did I want to say an NXT show or a match in NXT. I think they did that in Melbourne. They did that maybe last year. I think it was Joe and Nakamura, Steel Cage, something like that. So I know they did that for the network, which was really cool. But I'd love to see, like how they did Beast in the East, the big Japanese show. They've done, I think, an MSG show or something like that. I would love to see an Australian special. And I would fly out to go and be a part of that for sure. If it was, Melbourne, I'd fly out to go and be a part of that. Because that's a big deal. Like, we don't get any televised anything. The reason why they don't do it is because of time zones, and that's why you won't really see an Australian pay-per-view happen, because when it's Raw, when Raw's on in the USA, in the States, it's 10 a.m. here. So when Raw starts, it's 10 a.m. here. So for us to have a pay-per-view, it'd have to be a morning show. And I know UFC's done it, so it is possible. And I don't really see any issues, if they did a special and they started at 11 a.m. and maybe finished it at 1 p.m., a 2-hour show. That would be 9 p.m. to 11 p.m., I believe, in America. So that's not too bad. Obviously, UK missed out, but they always miss out. So I think that's not too bad. So I wouldn't mind, seeing that. I would love to see it. I know they did a pay-per-view, 15 years ago or something like that. Rebellion, I think it was. Lesnar was on the show. I think they did a big triple threat. I actually haven't seen that show. I should go out my way and see that. But I would love to see something like that. And I'd just like to see, because WWE is such now a global brand, I really think they should not upload house shows all the time, but every few months just upload a house show from a different country. Because I always find it fascinating, the different crowds and who's reacting to who. Because you watch something on TV and then you go to a live event and the reactions are really different. And I've noticed it going to Australia. It's like some people that I wouldn't expect to get a reaction really do. And some people I thought, oh yeah, this guy will be popular. Not so much. Because I remember the one name that really popped out to me a couple of years ago was Finn Balor. He was in NXT still. And it was Finn Balor versus Neville. Now, Neville, at the time, had no momentum, zero reaction on TV. This is when he was doing nothing. Finn Balor, though, was, getting a lot of steam and momentum in NXT. People were really starting to like the guy. And when Finn Balor came out, he got zero reaction. No one knew who he was. I felt like I was the only guy in the crowd cheering for the guy. Because I was, becoming a fan of Finn Balor. And then when Neville came out, he got this big reaction. Everyone knew who Neville was, and people were cheering Neville. People supported Neville over Finn Balor. It was a babyface versus babyface match. And everyone loved Neville, not Finn Balor. So I was shocked, really shocked. So there's a few strange reactions that you often see. And for me, that's kind of interesting. And also, just to get, a bit more unique content, I guess you could say, for WWE. If I'm looking at their network, or how can I, continue to appeal to my subscribe base? Well, let's show a special event every few months in let's say they go to Brazil, show an event there, or they go to Italy, a few events that we don't see wrestling in. It'd be cool to kind of, see the different reactions or something like that. I don't know. That's just me as a fan. And just thinking as a WWE, executive, how can I continue content on my network that's, going to keep people coming back? Might not be a bad idea. I don't think they should televise house shows every week. I think it'd be overkill, but every now and then, a couple, handful of times a year, maybe do a televised house show. And look, they don't have to really spice it up. Just do one or two cameras, just one or two hard cameras. And I believe they even do that anyway. I believe they have a camera or two on some house shows already recording footage, so the guys can go back and watch it and whatever. So it wouldn't be that much of a step up, really. And if they're doing it for their network, well, at the end of the day, they're gaining from that. So just an idea. But enough of that. We'll get into the Raw and SmackDown discussions this week. There's not a hell of a lot to chat about this week in terms of WWE. It was I think it was a Labor Day in the States, so I wouldn't say it's a throwaway show, but they didn't really have the big guns out. No Lesnar this week, so they kind of cooled off on a few things and just did a few placeholder matches just to get them through next week. They did have a title match with The Miz and Jeff Hardy, which I thought was good. But they opened the show up with Jason Jordan coming out and having a match with John Cena. Straight away, very refreshing to have a match start a show rather than a segment or a promo. So, straight away, that's nice. It's a nice change. Look, I'm all for promos opening shows. All for it, because quite often it sets up what's going to happen later on the show, and kind of, it sets the scene, and it creates a story, that drama to start things off. I'm all for it. But every now and then, you want to see a match open the show up, so it doesn't become as predictable. And this is what they did this week. And then afterwards, after the match, they had the promo that they probably would have done to open the show. So we still got the same promo, just happened after a match. And it was a good match. Cena and Jason Jordan. A small little attempt to recreate the Cena and Angle thing with Cena and Jordan. I didn't mind that. I thought it was kind of neat. And Jason Jordan with the Northern Lights suplex combination was cool. I have been seeing a lot of praise about that. So that's how Jason Jordan has to get over, is get it done in the ring. He's not a good promo. We know that. So doing some impressive things in the ring and slowly kind of earning the respect of the fans is not a bad way to go about it. Having him work with the top guys like Cena certainly helped. It was nice to see reaction and some noise in his matches. They tried to do it with Finn Balor, it didn't work, but it worked with Jason Jordan and John Cena. So that's not a bad idea, and he's not winning all the time. He's trying to take on the top guys and getting beat. So they're kind of having that storyline where he's getting humbled a little bit. He's, trying to step up and trying to prove himself, but he's failing. Obviously, it could lead to a turn down the line when he gets frustrated that he keeps on losing, and he's, throws away this good guy attitude to try and win his matches, starts cheating, for example. It wouldn't be a bad idea, and it's certainly a nice little slow build to that if that is the direction they're going to go in. So we'll have to keep tuned for that, but certainly not a bad way to start the show off. The Cena and Roman Reigns promo. Now, I didn't get a chance to talk about what actually happened last week with the big shoot promo, the scripted shoot promo, I guess you could say, and all the controversy surrounding that. I won't go into it fully again, but I will just say I really thought Roman Reigns cut the best promo of his career last week, and I was kind of impressed to see something out of Roman Reigns on the mic, something decent. So that was nice, and then Reigns and Cena had another promo battle again on this week's Raw. It was not as memorable. It was okay. It was fine. But I think Cena is starting to get the best out of Roman Reigns a little bit on the mic, which is not saying much. Roman Reigns hasn't got a lot to offer on the mic. But these two back and forth is great. I just still can't get over the fact it's happening in No Mercy. Look, to me, John Cena, Roman Reigns, main events WrestleMania any year. That's your biggest match. You got the two biggest names in your company. Whether you love them or hate them, without a doubt, besides Lesnar, your two biggest names, and you put them in a No Mercy pay-per-view. To me, that doesn't make any sense. I don't get that, and I get that, you want to make every pay-per-view special, absolutely. But when you already have Strowman and Lesnar, which to me is almost a WrestleMania caliber match again, I wouldn't have minded seeing those two guys kept apart until WrestleMania, if that was, and Strowman winning the belt there. If that was, going to happen, it would have been awesome. So you've almost got two WrestleMania caliber matches on No Mercy, and to me, they're kind of throwing that away. And look, at the end of the day, WrestleMania sells itself. It doesn't really matter what's on the show that much. WrestleMania, the brand, sells, the pay-per-view. So, they don't have to really go all out as much as I guess they used to when they needed to get buy rates and things like that. They've already got network subscribers. It's a bit of a different market, I guess. And if you're thinking about it this way, they've got a monthly reoccurring subscriber rate, and they have a percentage of subscribers that dip in and dip out depending on what's happening. But they have someone like me who just keeps it subscribed. I just keep it going. I'm enjoying what I see. I want to watch every pay-per-view. I'm going to keep on doing that. And majority of people who are subscribed to the network, I'm sure, are probably doing that. And then you have probably that 5 to 10% every month dipping in or dipping out, depending on what they see or depending on their financial situation or outside external factors, whatever. But they have that core subscriber base that's not going to go anywhere, and it doesn't really matter what they throw. They're not going to, it doesn't really matter what happens. So I guess in that mindset is that if you want to continue to have most of those subscribers staying on, you need to continue to produce quality, good quality content. It's not about buy rates anymore. It's about keeping subscribers, and subscribers are going to stay if they like what they see, and if you keep producing good quality, they're going to keep going. So maybe that's they're thinking, well, hey, we need to keep having a decent match or a big name match all the time. That we haven't got time to waste. We can't wait till WrestleMania. We need to do it now to keep things going. Because WWE are entering their low period of the year. Maybe they can't afford to have a low period. Maybe they need to try and keep the ratings strong. And I don't know. But to me, WrestleMania, I think a lot of people, if they're going to watch any wrestling event of the year, they're going to watch WrestleMania. So they might subscribe just to get WrestleMania as it is. I'm sure a lot of people subscribe just to get SummerSlam. So now that those big pay-per-views are gone, maybe they've seen maybe a growth spurt in subscriber counts from SummerSlam and looking to try and keep them on for an extra month by offering these two big matches. And if that's their strategy, that's fine, I suppose. I don't agree with putting those two matches on. I think they could have found a few other matches that would have worked just as well. But, I guess it is what it is. So if there is a subscriber bump from SummerSlam, let's say they had a 100,000 subscriber increase, they're looking to try and keep, 75,000 of them, hopefully, then that's fair enough. They want to try and offer something better. But, look, they've got a core subscriber base that will always stay on. It's that 10% maybe, I don't know, just throwing a number out, that 10% that keep dipping in and out that they need to try and grab onto and appeal to, and maybe there's another 10% that aren't interested right now, but maybe interested later on. They're trying to appeal to those people, because I think there's only a real set percentage of people that will get the network no matter what. So no, it's a tough one, but I wouldn't have wasted it on No Mercy. I mean, if we had to do it, Survivor Series would have been the one for me, but preferably WrestleMania. We'll keep moving along now, though. Jeff Hardy, The Miz, we mentioned a moment ago. I thought it was a good match. I'm happy to see Jeff Hardy getting singles opportunities. This is where I saw Jeff Hardy when he came in and when the Hardy Boys came back. I saw them having, a 6-month run as a tag team. How long has it been now? Not quite 6 months, but, 4 months or so. They won the titles. They're kind of out of the title picture right now because Rollins and Ambrose are there, so they're not going to really take them on. And they lost a couple of weeks ago to them. So they're kind of really spotlighting Rollins and Ambrose right now and having the other two heel teams go after them. And when the Revival come back, they'll do the same. So for the Hardy Boys, there really isn't much for them to do right now other than maybe doing this. Putting Jeff Hardy in a singles match, starting up a singles feud, which I'm not against at all. Jeff Hardy still can compete very well as a singles, still very popular, and having him compete in singles is probably the right call. I think Jeff Hardy will win the world title whilst he's here. I don't think they're going to waste Jeff Hardy in that retirement role. I think Jeff Hardy is still young enough where if he gets popular enough, there is a world title opportunity there for him. I think he'll have to do a lot of work to get himself there. I don't think he's got the popularity as a singles as much. Certainly Matt Hardy in the last few years has had all the recognition, but it's still, I feel like WWE still feel as though Jeff Hardy's more of the marketable man, and it's quite possible they might split the two up and put one on the other brand, and that wouldn't be the worst thing for them if they really wanted to have both guys in prominent positions. I think having them on the same show may be difficult to do that. It's you could have a tag team competing as singles, doing very, very well, and then, when they need to, they can come together as a tag team and compete. I think that would obviously make the tag division look good and kind of keep things interesting, and you have that versatility where you can use them in a number of different roles. But Jeff getting a singles title opportunity, he lost, but I expect to see a little bit more out of this for the time being, and hopefully it's good. Enzo Amore, he's been in 205 Live for a couple of weeks now. He's got this thing where he's cheating to win all the time. I don't think it's going to lead to a heel turn. What I think it may be, or maybe the decision is, I doubt it, but for me in my head personally, Enzo's been getting beaten up constantly all the time. So I think it's a kind of a way to protect the guys at 205 Live, because Enzo is getting bitched out every week to, Big Cass. So for Enzo to go from being, getting booted in the head and knocked out for 10 minutes every week, for him to go to that, to winning easily in 205 Live would just make the rest of the Cruiserweights look bad. So him cheating or doing whatever it takes to win kind of subsidizes that just a little bit. Okay, yes, he's still winning, but he has to kind of cheat and be a little bit scummy to do so because maybe he's not that good enough yet. So he's trying to cheat and find, different ways to get ahead. So that's how I view it anyways. I could be really wrong and just might, be setting him up for a heel turn. I don't know. But for me, Enzo is starting to get on my nerves. And honestly, a heel turn would be the worst thing for him because the reactions for me are dying down a little bit. He is bringing some life and some energy to the Cruiserweight division. And it's kind of rubbing off a little bit for the guys around him, Cedric and Grand Metalik, which, by the way, Grand Metalik's fantastic. And by the way, I'm really happy he's in 2K18. Very surprised about it, but really happy. It's good to see a bit of life injected in the Cruiserweight division. I think there's still more that they could do. I still think there's, Finn Balor could, be put in there. I know it's a kiss of death, but, Finn Balor and Neville feud, just that's a dream. That's just, money on the table right there. So I wouldn't mind one day maybe seeing Finn Balor, maybe Royal Rumble time if they've got nothing for him. Throw him in the Cruiserweights for a few months, have a feud with Neville, whether he wins or loses, whatever. But, so something there just to add a bit more life to it. But they've had a nice start. It's certainly on live support. The division as a whole and the 205 Live show is certainly live support. But, Enzo's helping just a little bit. Good to see Emma getting a chance for the Women's Championship at No Mercy. She'll be part of the Fatal 4-Way. I've been a little confused about her booking, what they're doing with her, but maybe they've just decided, all right, let's pull the trigger on her, let's put her in the women's match. She's not going to win, but it's just good to see her getting an opportunity. And quite honestly, it's good to see someone different being involved, because it's been really the same women all the time. Nia, Sasha, Bayley, Alexa. So putting in Emma is a nice change, and her saying she created the women's revolution all this time could lead to Paige returning, could lead to Nikki Bella returning to kind of, confront her. I don't know, but I don't see either one returning anytime soon. Obviously, Nikki Bella has been announced on the new season of Dancing with the Stars, so that will leave Nikki Bella out for a few months. I think she already confirmed that she wouldn't be back until WrestleMania time anyways, so we weren't expecting her to come back anytime soon. And as for Paige, who knows? Who the hell knows? So that's an idea, the storyline idea, but whether the women can come back to do it, I don't know. And to be honest, people very, very critical about Nikki Bella and the Bellas in general. I have no issues with them. I thought Nikki Bella had probably her best year in the WWE last year when she came back from her neck surgery and did the Carmella feud and the Natalya thing, and then finished it off with the Miz and Maurice. I thought that was probably my favorite year from her. When she was women's champion, it was okay, but to me, I think she had her best matches, her best stuff, all happened, her best promos, all happened in that period of time. So, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be against her coming back. I know a lot of people really hate her, but I really don't. I think in comparison to some of the women they've got on there, Nikki Bella's great, and she's not the best of all time or the best in the ring or anything like that, but at least she gets a reaction, and some women would dream of that. So, to be honest, she should be getting a reaction to all the stuff that they put her on, 2 reality TV shows, plastered all over everything, and so. But look, I don't hate her, and Brie Bella probably might come back in the ring too. I don't know about that. I don't know if Brie should do that. I think she probably should just leave it alone. But look, if she wants to come back. Maybe have one more run, I guess, like what Nikki Bella did. Maybe she saw her sister have one last good year. Maybe Brie wants to do that. But to me, I always saw Nikki as the bigger star between the two as a singles. So I don't know if there's an opportunity for Brie to come back and be inserted in any big storylines or any championship pitches. So I don't know how Brie would get used. Moving along now as well, last but not least. Oh, actually, we got one more thing here. Bray Wyatt and Finn Balor. Still continuing this feud, but it seems as though both guys are just completely directionless. This is just let's have these two guys something to do. They've got nothing else to do. Let's put them together. Let's just have them have a feud. It's just nothing there. And we've already seen Finn win, so do we need another match? Probably not. Look, how do we solve this? We've got two guys doing absolutely nothing. To me, I want to say one of them has to go to Smackdown. Now, Bray... Can you believe that Bray Wyatt was W champion in, February? Heading into WrestleMania? Bray Wyatt was the world champ? I can't believe that. Because you consider, as soon as he lost the world title, he had that disastrous match, House of Horrors match. It was terrible. And then ever since then, he's done absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. So, they just gave him the belt as a transitional champion for something to do. Just because. Just so they can call him a world champion. Did he deserve it? I don't think so. And he's done nothing since. They don't know what to do with Bray Wyatt. They have no idea. And now Finn Balor's starting to fall in that category. They finally brought back the Demon. It was good. I liked it. But, it probably didn't get the reaction or the response that I think they might have been hoping for. Certainly not. The talk wasn't about Finn Balor and the Demon character coming out of SummerSlam at all. It was an afterthought, really. So, what do they do? To me, yeah, Finn Balor in the Cruiserweight division, that's probably a last resort. I mean, and like I said, I would say that for WrestleMania. If I wanted to have Finn Balor, I got nothing for Finn Balor, come Royal Rumble time, stick him in there to take on Neville at WrestleMania for the Cruiserweight title. That would be fine to me. But other than that, for now, between now and then, honestly, I think one of them has to go to SmackDown. I think there's a spot, because I think that's the issue. There's no spot for Finn or Bray, because you've got, your big four on Raw, and now you add in John Cena as well, so it's a big five. And you got Rollins, you got Ambrose, you got the Hardys now, even The Miz is probably ahead of them. So they've got so many names on Raw right now that just are taking away opportunities from these guys, and they can't even get a look into the world title picture. And Finn has the credibility. He could insert himself in the world title picture. I don't think people would have an issue with that. I just think Lesnar and Finn is just such a mismatch that it wouldn't really match up well in the ring. So I think that's the reason why they've kind of kept him away from that. And Bray would be okay, but obviously he's a heel. That they want to have Bray and Lesnar. Is that a money match in their eyes? I don't know. And Bray's kind of feuded with, some of the other guys. He's done the Roman feud. Samoa Joe's a heel, so they couldn't do that. So there's not a lot really there for Bray to do. So I probably would stick one on SmackDown. And the one I would probably go with is Bray Wyatt, because I really feel as though they are lacking a top-level heel on SmackDown. They have KO. They've got Jinder. Still not sold on Jinder, by the way. He's okay, but Baron Corbin, is he slipping down, going into the US title scene? Yeah, by the looks of it. So they've got him. You add in Bray Wyatt, you've got another main event player in that, heel side of the roster, just to bolster it a little bit, and also someone who's got not a lot to do can kind of, get something going. Like Sami Zayn, for example, he's just directionless. He's got nothing happening for the guy. He's now losing to Aiden English, for God's sake. So, someone like him can benefit from having another heel to work with, because that seems to be the case. He's just got no one to work with. And Bobby Roode, I don't even think he had a match this week. So, they don't know. They brought in Bobby Roode, but they haven't really got, an idea where he's headed just yet. Maybe they do. Maybe they're waiting for the Nakamura and Jinder feud to end. I don't know. But I just feel as though one of them needs to leave. I'm talking about Finn and Bray. One of them needs to leave. And I think the most beneficial one would be Bray, because right now, those guys are just going absolutely nowhere. Last but not least, the steel cage match. Big Show and Braun Strowman, another match between the two. Look, I wasn't against it. I mean, I thought to myself, well, why do we need to have another match between the two? I think Braun's already proven that he's better than the Big Show. But hey, Big Show tried his best to put on a good performance. He even dropped the elbow off the top. Bit of vintage Big Show. Braun got the win and threw him to the cage at the end as well. That was a cool moment. So I'm not against it. It makes Braun look good, and it was a bit of a fill-in match. And Big Show and Braun have had some good matches. They've had some nice chemistry between the two, and I think they've realized that, and they've kind of made it a go-to match that they're looking to kind of capitalize on. So, it's not a bad idea. Kudos to them. They've kind of identified that as a money match, and they've gone with it. So we'll have to see where it kind of leads to, with Braun Strowman obviously having a match for the world title. some say this could be Big Show's last match because he kind of debuted by tossing Austin through the cage, I believe. So he kind of went out the way he went in. So some kind of said, well, that would be a nice way for him to go. But I don't think it's the Big Show's last match. But he might be off TV for a month or so. Maybe he takes a bit of a break. He looks like King Kong Bundy right now. But I don't know why he went with the clean shaven look. I don't think we've ever seen him like that very often, if at all. Maybe when I wasn't really watching. But it's a different look for him at least. But that's Raw. It was a decent show. I might give it to Smackdown this week, though, because I really, really enjoyed the Shane McMahon and Kevin Owens thing. I thought that was really good. We'll start off with Corey Graves, though. He's now the new Smackdown commentator, replacing JBL. So JBL's gone from the WWE, basically. He's going to do some charity work in Bermuda instead. I don't think Corey Graves is a long-term fix. Maybe they're trialing Corey Graves out right now, seeing which brand he kind of suits the most, and they're making a decision. At least it's not David Otunga or something like that kind of inserted in there. They're really lacking a good color commentator right now. Corey Graves is great. Booker T's, I don't mind Booker T. Byron Saxton I still don't like. To me personally, a three-man team just doesn't do it. I just feel like a two-man team works better, and I don't really feel like it's necessary to have a three-man team. On Raw, though, a 3-hour show, I think a three-man team is not a bad idea, because that's a lot of content you've got to get through, and having 2 extra guys you can bounce off really helps someone get through the show. For SmackDown, though, I don't think a three-man team is all that necessary. If they wanted to do Tom Phillips and Corey Graves as a duo, that'd be fine. But they couldn't do Saxton and Phillips because they need a heel and a face commentator. You just need that, otherwise they're just agreeing on the same person, so it doesn't really work. So for me personally, a two-man team would be better. But who they bring in, look, honestly, I want to see someone different. I want to see someone different get an opportunity. I think David Otunga, that experiment failed. I don't think he can do it. They've put Nigel McGuinness on main event and 205 Live. I don't think he's the man for the job yet either. I think if Daniel Bryan wasn't the GM, I think he would be a decent shout to be in that role. I think him kind of calling all the wrestling moves and being that type of guy would have been a nice change. And certainly for SmackDown, I think that could really work. But I wouldn't mind seeing them try to explore someone different. Who that is, I don't know. That maybe try and get another old legend to come in to do it. I think that's a good person to have in there, someone who has that credibility. If they've got Saxton in there, who's never done anything in the ring, worth talking about. Corey Graves, kind of similar. They kind of need that other guy that has that credentials, and they've got that on Raw with Booker T. It would be handy to have that again on SmackDown. So if they're going to replace JBL long term, I wouldn't mind seeing them replace him with someone with that credentials, but please don't let it be Jerry Lawler. Someone other than him. And I'm kind of watching Jerry Lawler. Like I was watching, I've been watching old pay-per-views. I've been watching 05, as you guys know. And Jerry Lawler's still really good in 05, but then I watched a pay-per-view in 2008, and Jerry Lawler's really not good. So it was that little period of time there where he just went from great to ugh. And ever since then, he's not been good. So don't want to see him back on the desk, but I wouldn't mind seeing someone different, someone new. But who that is, I don't know. It's hard because you can say, "Oh, this guy's a good talker." But will there be a good commentator, a color guy? I don't know. Hard to really say, and I don't know who's available, who's in the system. But just wouldn't mind seeing a new legend come in and fill that role. Moving along, as we said, I really enjoyed the Shane McMahon and Kevin Owens angle. Vince McMahon showing up next week with Shane McMahon now suspended. Where does this go? I mean, match at Hell in a Cell, possible. Shane and Kevin Owens. I wouldn't mind that. And maybe Kevin Owens gets the win. And what I would like to see, though, personally, is a 5-on-5 Survivor Series match. Shane McMahon is the captain of one team. Kevin Owens is the captain of the other. Shane McMahon wins. He gets reinstated as the commissioner. If he loses, Kevin Owens gets rid of Shane McMahon for good, and will drop the can drop the lawsuit or whatever. or gets rid of Shane McMahon, so he doesn't need to worry about the lawsuit. But, if Shane McMahon wins, Kevin Owens has to drop the lawsuit or whatever and go from there. So that's, to me, what I would do, and I think it'd be a good way to kind of showcase a few of your top guys. Now, the problem is, who do you put on the teams? And, do they have 5 heels that they can go with? But I guess you could go Shane McMahon, AJ Styles, Bobby Roode, maybe Nakamura's not champion, maybe they put him in there. Sami Zayn would be a good shout. There's a few, and Kevin Owens, obviously Baron Corbin has an issue with Shane. Then you kind of go, well, who else? Who else can you kind of put in that role? Maybe you put the Usos in there. Maybe you kind of put a tag team in there, which is not a bad idea. I always liked having a tag team in a tag team match on a 5-on-5, and you have to fill in another role. And like I said, they really do need a heel. They're really lacking on the heel side of things. But that's the direction I would like to see them take with that, because as you guys know, I love the 5-on-5. And I think that would be a really good 5-on-5. With that stipulation behind him, Shane McMahon wins, gets his job back. If he loses, he's gone. That's a good, strong stipulation to make people invested and care about that match enough, in my opinion. So I would wait. I wouldn't do a match at Hell in a Cell, quite honestly. I'd keep Shane suspended. And, because I think, look, Hell in a Cell, I'd keep Shane on those special pay-per-views. But in saying that, we just spent, time talking about how they're trying to make every pay-per-view decent. That's one way to do it. And I guess you could have maybe Kevin win by cheating or something like that. And Kevin Owens wants to get rid of Shane for good. Or maybe Shane gets an upset win and, and then he gets that opportunity to get his job back and then he loses and Kevin Owens gets rid of him for good. Maybe that's how they go about it. But that's probably what I would like to see happen at the end of this storyline, which I have been enjoying. Some people aren't really hot about it, but I wasn't that keen on it. But this week really sold me. I really enjoyed this, the back and forth. And now with his job in jeopardy and Shane, laying hands on an employee, it kind of has ramped up the storyline a bit. And Vince McMahon showing up next week will be really interesting to see what happens. Bit of dissension between Carmella and James Ellsworth, teasing that maybe they'll break up. Now they're back together. Carmella even kissed James Ellsworth, so who the hell knows what's going to happen there. But for me, I wouldn't break the two up. I just can't see what else the hell James Ellsworth would do. I think he's a good lackey for Carmella, and she can string him around, and he's like a puppy dog, do whatever she wants. So I'm happy for James Ellsworth to be in that role. I think that's the best role for him. And I was very skeptical when they first did it, but it has kind of worked, and I think it's a good combination. A lot of people still kind of salty about the whole Ellsworth cashed in. They couldn't even have a woman cash in the Money in the Bank thing, which I think is ridiculous. I wouldn't even, not cash in, but grab the briefcase, and perhaps even Ellsworth will cash in for Carmella. Look, I don't really see it for 1 second about, a woman couldn't get it. It had to be a man. I didn't really ever buy into that. I just thought they took advantage of a situation. They were just smart. They took advantage of a situation and helped out Carmella. So, I guess I could probably get heat for this, but feminists kind of saw it differently and saw it as empowering males instead of, women. So, I don't know, but I never saw an issue with that. And, I guess maybe Ellsworth will screw over Carmella and cost her Money in the Bank and cash it in at the wrong time. They tease that. Maybe that will happen. We'll have to wait and see. Last couple of points here. Dolph Ziggler, disaster for him. Re-debut. And he was just, doing other people's gimmicks and entrances or whatever. I don't know. I don't know what you do with Dolph. I'm sorry. Like we were talking about 5-on-5. Maybe Ziggler can be on Team Owens. That's about all I've got for him. Because right now, I don't see what he does. I mean, I get what they're trying to do. He's good in the ring, but people don't care about the character himself because he's not a silly gimmick. I get what they're doing, but where does this go? I don't know. Are they actually going to get behind the man and push him and do something with him? I don't know. For me personally, I just feel like Dolph Ziggler is just being pushed and de-pushed and pushed and de-pushed to the point where you just can never really believe that he's going to get the big one. And he has that stigma about him that can't really be overcome unless you really invest, a year or two of strong booking behind him, but he's got no reason for the WWE to kind of give him that because he hasn't got the reactions or, it's not there anymore. Maybe a few years ago, sure, but not anymore. And he just has that stigma about him that he's just a mid-card guy, which is not a bad thing, but at this point in his career, he's been around for so long now. If I'm Dolph Ziggler, I'd look at stepping away and do something else, but I don't know, is he happy, content? I don't know, but I just feel like there's nothing left for him to do in the WWE. He's kind of done everything there is to do. He's faced everyone there is to face. He has a few new guys. I could see Bobby Roode and Dolph Ziggler having a feud and Roode beating him. That's probably all I've got for him. Sami Zayn got a loss as well. He got beat by Aiden English. He's another guy. What the hell are they doing, Sami Zayn? Who knows? I don't know. But another loss for Sami Zayn. Trying to pump up Aiden English maybe, but it's sacrificing Sami Zayn, who a guy that the crowd do somewhat like still. So I've been saying it for a while. Sami Zayn is the new Dolph Ziggler, and they're certainly proving it to be. Last but not least, Nakamura, the new number one contender. Good match between Nakamura and Orton. I liked it. Love the RKO counter into the armbar. Thought it was neat. So yeah, there's a few positive highlights of SmackDown this week, and I have to say I enjoyed it probably more. And Nakamura and Jinder again, a Hell in a Cell, not against it at all. I think that'd be good. And a Hell in a Cell match for Jinder right now would make a lot of sense because the Singhs just continue to get involved in everything. So for me, if you're going to do a title change, it's got to be Hell in a Cell. Jinder one-on-one with Nakamura. There's no way anyone can get in. There's no way that Jinder can kind of cheat his way to victory. So unlike the Punjabi prison where they could, sneak in. Now there's no chance unless they open the door, but, the referee shouldn't let them in. So this should be the time where Jinder loses the belt because in storyline-wise, he hasn't beaten anyone really without the help of the Singhs. So this is the time, in my opinion, where you drop the belt from Jinder because in storyline, if he's using the Singhs to win all the time, well, now he can't do that, so he should lose. Moving along now, last couple pieces of news before we get into our questions quickly. More Global Force Wrestling dramas. Apparently they might be selling up. Who knows? Jeff Jarrett's gone from the company at the moment. Yeah, it's disappointing just when you thought maybe they're getting a bit of momentum, doing a few right things. They renewed their Pop TV deal. Now this drama's starting to happen. Is Anthem going to sell Global Force again? We don't know right now, but it's a bit of a developing story, so it's disappointing. Look, I really would like to see Global Force succeed. I just feel like it can't. I just feel like no matter what happens, the wrestling fans are kind of giving up on it. But they're still stringing it along. But more dramas for them at the moment. And the Mae Young Classic. I haven't really watched the Mae Young Classic. For me personally, it's something I'm not that interested in. I've watched a few matches. Mainly been keeping an eye on some of the Aussie women, in particular Toni Storm. And I really like what I see from Toni Storm. She's a good-looking woman. She's young. I think she's my age. I think I'm actually a few months older than her. It's really odd to be older than a wrestler. Actually, I'm a year older than her. Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, no, a few months. So it's really odd to be older than a wrestler. I guess I'm getting old or whatever. But it's kind of cool to see someone my age kind of wrestling and in the WWE. So I really like her. And obviously being Australian as well is great. So I love to see her get a contract. I liked her match. I think there's another Aussie, I think Ray, forget the name, but I feel like it's Ray Ripley, but I could be really wrong on that, or maybe combining two different names, but so there's a few Aussies in there, and overall, I'm sure there's a lot of women that they probably will sign from this tournament, and it's good to see. It's good to see that the women are getting an opportunity. For me, I might just check out the finals. I didn't do this. I did the same with the cruiserweights and the UK because the spoilers are already out there. I already kind of know a few names that made it to the semi-finals. I didn't even look for the spoilers. It just kind of came. It just hit me. I'm just kind of scrolling through Twitter and whatever, and boom, there's a spoiler. It's hard to avoid it, especially when you're a wrestling fan. Like myself personally, I use my own forums. I have my own wrestling forum, so we kind of talk about everything there. So it just kind of gets brought up in conversation. And it's hard to kind of avoid it. So for that's a big reason why I probably go, okay, I'll check out a match or two, then I'll just watch the finals. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. So, yeah, I'll just kind of check out. I think they are doing a live final. So I'll just check that out and see how that goes. But yeah, honestly, it's good for the women, and I'm sure there'll be a few new women coming along to the roster soon, which will be great to see. We have a few questions, not a lot, because I didn't post up the questions for this week. But if you do want to leave a question for next week's show, hopefully there will be one. There should be. Let me know. Leave one, sorry, by leaving a comment in the comment section down below, or over on the Facebook page. BrendenPlayz is the Facebook name as well. So leave a question there. So let's get into the couple of questions we have for this week's show. All right, here we go. This one's from my man Roy the Boy. He never forgets, Roy the Boy. Shout out to him. He has a couple of questions for me. First one, how important do you think promos are in this day and age? I think promos to me are everything. Promos set you apart from the other guys. There's a lot of great wrestlers in WWE right now, but there's not a lot of great personalities and characters. And for me, wrestling was at its height when you had Stone Cold, The Rock, Mankind, Triple H, Shawn Michaels. These guys who can come out and cut great promos and sell you matches on the mic and in the ring. They would talk you into a building, and then they would deliver in the ring. So that's the thing. You can get it done in the ring, but if you're going to hype and sell a big match, you've got to get it done on the mic. You've got to be able to talk your way and get people to be invested in the match through that way, because you can't have Brock Lesnar and Braun Strowman and just have the match. You got to have a reason for the match, and to create that reason, you need to have the strong microphone skills to back it up. Now, not everyone has it, but most of the time, the people who have the strong mic ability and can perform pretty well in the ring often do get the bigger opportunities. So, for me, promos are everything right now, especially right now in WWE. There's not a lot of great promo cutters. You look at a Jason Jordan, he's good in the ring, he's pretty good in the ring, but he just can't cut a promo. Chad Gable's the same. Look at a Shelton Benjamin. If he could cut a promo, who knows where his career could have ended up. So that's the thing. Promo cutters for me just kind of separate the world champions from the mid-card guys. So you got to be able to cut a promo, and if you can, you'll make it. If you can't, then good luck to you. But there's so many great in-ring talent now. I think everyone can do it in the ring. Some will say that some guys can't, but and look, if you're a Roman Reigns and you can get by just on promos, or a Braun Strowman, but you have the look that they like, and you can perform the way they want you to, and you're liked in the back, those different factors can help you get there. But for the most part, if you're good in the ring and you can't cut a promo, it's pretty unlikely that you'll get anywhere too far. This one is also from Roy the Boy, as I said. Do you prefer long title reigns or short ones? It depends on the situation, depends on the person who has the championship. I don't like 1 day title reigns. I don't like 7-day title reigns. But, if someone holds the belt for a couple months, 3 months, and has a couple of matches, maybe, completes a feud, loses the belt after that, that's fine. But if I'm looking ahead and say, okay, I want Seth Rollins to be my main guy, and he's someone I want to position as my top guy for the next 5 years, then I feel like a long title reign is needed out of him. I wouldn't be having him have 3 short reigns. I'd have him have 1 or 2 long championship reigns to establish him there and legitimize him that way. So I think long title reigns, when used well, are very effective, and it also does add prestige to a championship. When a belt is just hot potatoed, it really does devalue a championship, and that's what I also don't like to see, and a big reason why I personally don't go with that. My TEW playthrough, for example, I'd like to have long championship reigns, at least long enough where they've had a chance to do something with the belt, had a chance to defend the belt a couple times, have a few matches, prove themselves as a champion, and, have a reign. If they can't even have a title reign, it's ridiculous. If, for example, Money in the Bank, someone cashes in on the same night that they won the belt, that's kind of different. That's the surprise factor, and that kind of ruins the title, but, that title win. But, if you just have, for example, Bray Wyatt, he won the belt and he lost it a month later. What the hell was the point of it? What was the point of him winning? Just to give him another world title reign. So, that to me is pointless. And yeah, you can use him as a transitional champion to get him from a babyface to a heel back to a babyface without having to have a babyface and a babyface face off. If that is your sole intended purpose, then okay. But, you know, for someone like Bray Wyatt, I wouldn't have done that with him. I would have done that on someone who's already held the belt and, you know, go from there. But, all right, this next one, and it is our final question for today's show. This one's from Ryan Fleming. He goes, I can't ever remember a time, but can you, where Alicia Fox has ever gotten a reaction? This is a bit of a brutal question, Ryan. I can't, honestly. I think maybe when she did her crazy thing and she was freaking out a couple times, maybe that popped a bit of a reaction. Not a big one, but yeah, Alicia Fox, she is mediocrity, to say the least. She defines that word. If she was gone, she would not even be forgotten. I don't think anyone would ever really notice that she's, you know, left. They don't see her as anything in the ring. They barely even have her wrestle, especially on Raw when they kind of like to have some different matches there. So, and look, there's got so many other women who are better than her right now. There's no need to ever go back to her. They've tried, though. To be fair, they've tried. They've given her a few different things. Arguably not great things, you know, being crazy and all that. I don't know if that's ever going to really work. But they have tried a few times to get her there, and it just hasn't worked. It just hasn't worked. I think she did win the Divas belt back in the day, so she did get something. But, you know, she's held a job for a long time. You know, for whatever reason, she's held a job. I don't know why, but she remains to be employed, and maybe she's liked in the back. But yeah, so yeah, reactions few and far between for poor old Alicia. But ladies and gentlemen, that's pretty much all we have time for this week's edition of the podcast. I hope you did enjoy it, and if you did, make sure you do leave a like on the episode for me. Check us out on iTunes, Spreaker, and Stitcher as well. If you want to support the show and download the shows, you can do that there as well. And go ahead and tell a friend if you've got a friend that likes wrestling. Let them know. Let them know about the show and spread it around for them. And of course, subscribe. I'm sure you probably already are subscribed by now, but if you have not, make sure you do so and click the bell. Click the bell and you'll get notified whenever I do upload a video. And right now, as we discussed earlier on the show, videos are going to be interesting. I don't know what's the plan. I wouldn't mind doing a few more WWE 2k18 videos. And I had a few different ideas of a few different things, non-wrestling related, that I might bring to my channel. Up in the air right now, but I think it's something that most of you gamers will like, so that's something that I may think about doing. Depends on, you know, my time and where I'm at right now, but it's certainly something that I'll keep in the plans going forward. But yeah, a few things I'll kind of throw around a little bit, and we'll try and reinvent myself a little bit and kind of spice the channel up a bit, because we've kind of been doing the same thing for a bit now. But yeah, more Total Extreme Wrestling. Hopefully I can get a couple more done and upload it for you in the next few days. And obviously New Universal episode won't be tonight, but will be tomorrow, so I apologize for the extra delay on that, but I just had a few technical issues and I didn't have the time to get it done today. Alright, that's enough rambling on now, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you again for joining us, and I'll see you next Thursday.